What we're seeing on the Israeli-Lebanese border, it's not just a series of clashes anymore, not by a long shot. We're looking at the front line of a regional war that's expanding, and it's happening fast. So today, we're going to decode the signals that show just how wide this conflict is getting and who the real players are.
Let's just get this out of the way right up front. This is not a border skirmish. Every piece of evidence we have points to a much bigger and, frankly, a much more dangerous phase of this war. And that's the story we need to unpack.
So what's the first major signal that things are escalating? Well, it almost always starts on the ground. The human cost. That's the most real, the most tangible evidence you can get that a conflict is truly widening.
Yeah, this isn't some abstract concept on a map. It has a real human price. The Israeli military recently announced the death of Sergeant Moshe Yitzhak Hakokatz, just 22 years old, during operations in southern Lebanon. That kind of personal loss is really a stark reminder of just how intense this ground campaign is becoming.
And this isn't just about defending a line. The strategy here points to a massive shift. Israeli officials are saying the forces are pushing deeper to create what they're calling a forward defense zone. You gotta understand, that language signals a huge change from just clashing at the border to a real ground invasion that's meant to create a permanent buffer.
So how do they justify this deeper push? Well, publicly, it's all about weakening their opponents. Officials are pointing to this number, over 850 Hezbollah members they claim to have removed from the battlefield, as proof that their campaign is actually working.
Okay, but here's the twist. While all the fighting, all the kinetic action is happening in Lebanon, the real strategic focus, well, that seems to be aimed somewhere else entirely. And this is where the conflict really truly starts to widen.
You have to listen to this quote from a senior Israeli official. It's so important. It directly connects the two fronts. By saying that attacks came from both Iran and Lebanon, they are officially telling the world this is a multi-front war, not just a fight against Hezbollah.
And that brings us to the core thesis here. Let's just spell it out. Lebanon is the battlefield. It's the theater of operations where the fighting is happening. But Iran is the strategic target, the ultimate goal. And that distinction, it reframes absolutely everything we're seeing on the ground.
So, where's the proof? Well, Israeli officials have actually confirmed they've targeted strategic facilities deep inside Iran. We're talking about sites linked to uranium and heavy water production. And the stated goal? It's crystal clear. Iran will not possess a nuclear weapon. See how they're connecting the dots from Lebanon all the way to Iran's biggest strategic objective? Now this next statement, it's incredibly revealing. Israel is claiming its strikes have successfully delayed Iran's nuclear program. But listen to the specific wording they use. Delayed, but not completely destroyed. That language is so deliberate. It lets them claim a win, while also building the case for why they have to continue and maybe even escalate these operations.
And this is where we zoom out to the next level, because this isn't just a regional fight anymore. There's a superpower angle here that raises the stakes to a whole different stratosphere. According to Israeli military sources, these complex, multi-front operations, they aren't happening in a vacuum. No, they're being carried out in full coordination with the United States. And let's be clear, that's not just diplomatic backpatting. It implies a deep strategic and operational partnership.
I mean, it really doesn't get much clearer than this. There's no daylight between us. That phrase from an Israeli military spokesperson is designed to send one very powerful message to the entire region. This alliance is rock solid, especially now, at a moment of extreme tension. But here's a really fascinating bit of nuance. Even though the coordination is total, the public messaging is kept separate. A spokesperson actually described it as a gentleman's agreement, where each military speaks for itself. So you get total strategic unity behind the scenes, but they maintain these distinct public voices. This whole conflict is being fought on multiple levels. Right alongside the physical battlefield, there is an information war that is every bit as intense. It's a battle to control the official story of what's actually going on. And this table just lays it out in stark relief. Look at this. Israel identifies a casualty, Ali Hassan Schwab, as a Hezbollah intelligence operative. But regional media reports identify him as Ali Shah, a journalist for Al-Manar. Israel claims it's neutralizing over 850 combatants. Regional reports talk about mounting losses of civilians, paramedics, and journalists. These aren't just different points of view. They are fundamentally contradictory stories about the exact same events. So in the face of all these competing narratives, Israel's public message is one of just absolute, unwavering resolve. A spokesperson literally repeated the phrase, "The IDF is strong," and promised to keep going until all threats are gone.
This is textbook messaging designed to project strength and control the story.
So where does all this leave us? Well, it leads to a bunch of really urgent, high-stakes questions. And honestly, the answers are going to define the future of the entire Middle East.
First off, what's the end game on the ground? Is this new forward defense zone in Lebanon just a temporary thing, or are we watching the very beginning of a new long-term Israeli occupation? And second, what does no daylight really mean when the rubber meets the road? With this level of full coordination, you have to ask, is the United States already, for all intents and purposes, an indirect participant in a multi-front war against Iran and its allies?
And that brings us to the final, looming question that hangs over all of this. With direct strikes inside Iran and a strategy that connects all these fronts, is the fight in Lebanon just the opening act? Is Iran the real endgame of this widening war?